And welcome everybody to TNM Unplugged and Zoran Todorovic.Space Interconnected podcast. I'm so happy to be with you today and to host this wonderful conversation with the old friend. We were just talking about when we met 16 years ago, and I'm like, my God, time really flies right now. And here we are 16 years later, reunited in collaboration and conversations, making sure that we elevate the world, the leadership into the new paradigm of existence. So I'm so grateful and happy to have this virtuoso violinist, Miha Pogačnik. And what is he? He's the amazing leadership innovator. He's a transformational artist. He's a social visionary. He is the violin maestro. He has done a tremendous service to humanity in his career. And today we're going to be focusing on his method, and we're going to be learning together about his transformational method. What I can tell you about Miha and our relationship is that I saw him in different conferences when he engages the leaders from different organizations, puts them into the kind of creative space with music, positions them within the Philharmonic Orchestra, and then plays the music to initiate their transformation, their awakening, the awakening of their creativity, the bilateral thinking, and initiation of the soul and heart. He has done so much good work for the humanity that I'm so happy and grateful to be with him in conversation today. A few more things about Miha. He is an ambassador of culture for the Republic of Slovenia. He has worked with the amazing corporations and companies around the world, from the World Economic Forum to BBC, to World Bank, and to Microsoft and Bosch and Airbus. So a lot of you who are listening to this podcast from the position of leadership will maybe recognize and remember his amazing work. So Miha, welcome to the program. Welcome to the show.
Very nice to be talking to you anytime, privately or on air, whatever. I remember so well that energy that was in the room where we met in Stresa in Italy, first time. It was a coaching conference or global coaching conference.
Yeah.
And those people who are there, of course, they know how to listen because they're coaches. You don't get that every day. Because I always say we are born with hearing, but we have to learn to listen. That's another story. Listening means it's a discipline. So now, for instance, right now, as we are starting this conversation, and those of your audiences who are listening to it, I'm sure they just came from such a busy life right now. Now, look, music slows you down. If I start playing just now, how we actually de-engage and let go and enter the new, like another world. And so on. Now, I just want to say, you see, when you enter this magic world of music, first of all, you feel like you expand towards your total humanity. You are not only in your linear thinking, as we are very much so. You're not zoomed out, even though it's happening on Zoom, but you sort of expand to a totality. And then if you are really listening, then you notice all kind of changes of qualities. Usually people don't know how to listen. They only react. They like it, they dislike it, or whatever. They let their thoughts flatter around and go and so on. But when you listen, you concentrate. You are completely identified with what you hear. And this identification is like a practice, how you can then use that capability in your business life. Because if you really listen, what did you hear just now? For instance, you heard two realities moving at the same time. You heard this, the beat. I say the beat of the heart. And then you heard the melody on it. And this melody was like searching for a vision, for where you want to go. You see, that means in the music, you immediately, without much talking, you go into the connection between head and the heart. You're right there. You see, it makes so much difference if you have experience or if you only have it on PowerPoint presentation, like people talking, you have to connect with your heart. Well, yes, of course, but how? What is the connection? What is it? So you don't only end up in a heart and there is no more thinking. There you have emotional people who scream and cry for everything. So that's a problem. So it's about connecting and being in many places at the same time. This is what we performers have learned over decades. When you are a performer, you know how to be in many places at the same time. When people say, how is the performer's consciousness? I say, it's a positive schizophrenia, because you are many personalities and you are there where the people are at the same time. You are sort of also with them to experience yourself from outside. And so you know how to act. Anyway, lovely to talk to you, because you mentioned we would like to use this opportunity to learn from a practicing artist. How does that work in the leadership floor? What is it? What can one learn from it? Well, look, the first thing is, if I play, when I play like this, you cannot do that pragmatically. You have to absolutely be in it. You have to identify. You have to be 600% present in this thing that you do. And they don't do that in the leaders. They don't know how to do that, how to connect, how to bring this identity out of the essence that should be communicated. So that's one thing that one can immediately take away as this impression. And the other thing that I do is that I kind of try, or not only try, I have a method to wake up the artist within everybody who is there. Because we all are potentially artists. Look, when we were young, from the age 0 to 3, we are so creative as a kids. Yes. And then society makes us normal. Then we are normal for the rest of the life, which is terrible. Normal people are horrible stuff. Normality, I say normality is curse of humanity. So how do we now again tap into that extraordinary creativity that child has? Can you imagine to learn to walk, to learn to speak, to learn to think? These are like whole evolution of human race has that in its collective history, learning those basic things. How fantastic. Now, why don't we continue then with our evolution and we stop? And this is where I say, look, for instance, I take masterpieces of music and I take my audiences on what I call it creative detour or productive detour, which means they have to leave their professionality for 10, 20 minutes and dare to go with me as I instruct them how to listen. And I go on for step by step. I will give you an example of beginning of a fugue by Bach. It starts like this. And so on. Now, you notice there is a pattern that keeps repeating. You see, this pattern in music is called the subject, thema. One could say brand in the music. Everybody knows that. It's like a brand. For those of you who are now seeing, also not only listening, I can tell you following. Did you notice? Did you hear what I was playing? I played again. Now, what do we hear? First, we hear the first note. The first note, yeah, it's like this. It has a clarity of there I want to go. Like this. Look. Bah! It gives direction. That's what leaders have to do. It gives vision, direction. But that's not enough. If you only give direction, people say, well, I want to go the other way. So what's the next? You see, the second thing is like this. Yeah, the second one is taking above, taking below, taking everything with you in motivating, mobilizing, and so on, and then reinforcing the direction. But when I come to the second time to direction, it has so much energy. Listen, it is much more than at the beginning. And then there comes the implementation. I don't say execution, because that they say in business, executing the projects, which is terrible. It's like killing something. They invest so much money into the strategy and in all kind of things around strategy, and then they kill it because they execute it. You understand? So I say, no. Find better words, implementation, embodiment, whatever. So the same thing with deadlines, deadline. No deadlines. We work together. No, we have lifeline.
Yes.
And we say, then the project is ready and it takes off. So lifeline, not deadline. It's ready and it's dead.
Exactly.
So I'm playing with the words a little bit, like heartstorming. You said before collaboration. I say better co-creation, because collaboration is transactional. You give me that, you give me that, and let's see if the numbers are right. No, co-creation means there is a goal. How do we get there together? So anyway, so I was just telling how I wake up the artist within my clients. First thing is they must learn to listen to this masterpiece. That was a beginning, but then it starts developing, it grows, it goes into crisis, re-emerges with new findings, new insights, new power, and so on. And at the end, it's fantastic, transfigured and beautiful, full of light. And so I take them through that. So they suddenly notice, oh, this is not just music. This is my biography. They notice, crisis, of course, I remember at 49. So I take them through this, and they notice suddenly I'm talking about their problem and about their solution through music, because that lets them free. They don't feel like I'm invading their private situation or invading their corporate situation. They must find their own solution. In order to get there, when we are done with the music, I divide them in small groups, and now they make a group poetry. Can you imagine? They suddenly start doing out of that music experience, out of what they see emerging through my painting. Now they make again another step and together make poem. Beautiful poem that must be related exactly to their own challenges and potentials, you see. And then they perform for each other, groups for the others, and they must make a nice choreography, not just, read it with a sour face. No. They have to imagine, create something very funny or very artistic and so on. So only after performances, where I make a master class, we are going to make master classes together. So after performances, then we return back to the debriefing of the company situation. And I tell you, going through so many different detours, through music, through painting, through poetry, through choreography, through performance, and so on, they completely let go and become artists. Wonderful. But they are playing with their own potential and own challenges in artistic way, because in artistic way there is no hierarchy. It's so nice. They are all as a peers together. It doesn't matter CEO or CFO. Who cares? Suddenly you are a human being, and that is so nice. And then you return back to your completely determined situation. Everything is job description and everything comes back, of course. But then we already have had experience that carries. So this is what I do with them. And I tell them, these people, I say, look, this is how you can come to a very unique solution to what you are trying to do, and you get stuck. So you get unstuck through musical detour. And then I promise you, you will not forget this for a long time, for 10 years. because that is sustainability means memory. I call it emotional memory. You remember what you have gone through music, and then you can start on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday implementing that, and the old patterns don't kill you because you are above. You have detached yourself from this way of operating before this workshop. So I say, to conclude this, I say arts are the gold of the future to help organizations to create new forms of organizations, new relationships, new communication. All this, if we know how to use arts, that can help tremendously. So what do you hear?
Wow. I just love what you're sharing about the arts. And also when I'm coaching and working with the executives, especially in the organization and different corporations, that level of creativity, it's always necessary. And sometimes people do struggle, to activate themselves, right? So everybody somewhere feels their creative potential, feels their creative energy, but they don't have the tools or the method or the principle of the guidance to activate. And also, sadly now, people sometimes don't believe they're even creative. Sometimes in the workshop, you know that really well. The leaders will come and say, but I'm not a creative, I am this type, right? And what you're saying to everybody, creativity is natural state of human beingness, and that through the music we can activate the creativity to the next level of itself, right?
And they say, I don't understand anything about music and so on. I say, no, I'm not expecting any understanding of classical music. I'm not expecting any love for this music. You can love whatever type of music you want. I just expect attention, simple, honest attention, because this attention is going to unlock the doors to some magic world you have not known before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it is. And this magic world is not just entertainment. I have been all my life fighting to reposition arts in society so that it can really support decision making, and not just, for Friday night in a theater and so on, which is nice. I'm not downplaying that. But the problem is it's not connected with the problems in which we live today. And especially now, we are now in this post-corona situation. People are frustrated. They are so upset. I actually call it healing the corporate soul, healing the soul. The soul is wounded.
Exactly. Healing the corporate soul. That's very important, because people in corporations are great, amazing, lovely people with the good intentions, with, desire to, provide for their families, to create a wonderful impact, to transform the planet. But, somehow we got stuck with the creative energy, and somehow we got stuck with the problem solving and also invention and evolution of the corporate. So I love that term, healing the corporate soul. I think it's really important.
Yeah, let's build around that.
Yeah. So in addition, so when you get people in these experiences throughout your method, so you activate the artists inside of them, they go through the different stages of really listening, feeling, sensing the music, activating their emotional bodies. So what else happens through the method, as you're working with people?
The first thing we have to note is the fact that the method is inspirational. Inspiration, it's like when the lightning hits the place in the woods, when you go there, soon after everything is smoldered and burned out and rocks are black. And so, inspiration is powerful stuff. It hits in a moment and makes lasting changes. So you don't need then to be policing every day after people have done this, have done that. It can be done once and holds for a long time. But it is very good. And what I've been doing in the past is to come and help train the internal people from the company to help them how to create environment in which this leadership can then again and again come to that kind of magic situation to experience something like that. Because then they have the strength to pursue real changes. The real change means, it hurts. Also when you do transformation is not just a nice thing to have. Which means something has to go to make place for something better. And that we like to, we don't like to change. We like to always do the same things in life. That's the human nature, part of the nature.
Nature, part of it, conditioning, like, oh my God, I don't want to change. Absolutely. I know transformation is painful, evolution, it's also challenging, but exactly that something needs to let go for something new to emerge, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that means you need inner strength to do that, to challenging, to have courage to step into unknown. to step across the abyss, to jump, and there is maybe no ground there yet. And while you jump, the ground appears, a new ground appears. So that's not easy. It's a salto mortale in life. We artists, especially now during Corona, everything was taken away from us. So we learned a lot again, and we know it has this power that people actually need. Look, imagine you have from morning to night 10 Zoom conferences every day at home, and kids are screaming behind you, and so it's just very challenging. So you need something different. You need to get inspired, so you can, from the different place of the inner place, you can actually conduct your life where you have much more power. And that is what we like to empower, I would say, in a proper way, to make people reach into their solar plexus of potentials that they all have, but they don't know that they have them because they forgot it. That's all. I believe always people have so much more than what we use daily. We all have so much more. The human being is microcosmos. In us, it's the whole, we are like everything if you only dare to go far enough inside. So this is where I see the arts extremely helpful, because it leaves you free. It's not some kind of religion or some kind of guru type of people. It's the authority is in a masterpiece, which means masterpiece of great composers is a living organism. It is beautiful, meaningful, and people, especially today in our time, they need meaning, because there is so much meaningless stuff going on. The whole world pushing, selling something on you, and all the time, so many things that are meaningless or have very little meaning. And meaning, I would say, is the underlying crisis of all other crises. Is a crisis of meaning, in my opinion. And if you now go through a masterpiece consciously, with my guidance, with my help, then you are, for that period of time, you are actually traversing a intense meaning field. Not mind field, but meaning field of meaning. So, when you come out on the other side, you are rejuvenated, reinvigorated. You are younger than when you went in. You are old, you come in. It's very funny. In Slovenia, we have a old tradition. The peasants, the farmers, they used to make paintings on the beehives, where the bees were sort of sleeping and creating their home, and they painted that. It was like early form of the newspaper in the 19th century, and they had a very nice motifs. And one of the motifs, now don't misunderstand this, it's not about gender, but it's about something archetypal. The farmer brings his old wife and throws her into this mill. There is a mill, and on the other side comes out a virgin. So I say this is the synonym for music. When you really work with music, you go through these processes, it makes you younger. So older I get, younger I feel, because I do my work, all the time. So I'm inviting people. That's actually on the wish list of everybody. I want to keep young, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. There is a huge movement out there. You're maintaining younger people and more vital people and healthier people. Yeah. And I guess with the music, you revitalize, because
exactly
that meaning field that you were mentioning, it's something that is super important nowadays, especially for the leaders. It's to tap into that. And if they don't know what is the meaning at that moment in time, through experiencing musical journey in meaning, they would remember and recall that meaning back to their life. So what is the meaning of my life right now?
That's right.
Why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Because a lot of people right now in organizations, in small businesses, are questioning, after this crisis we've been through. It
goes under the purpose. Meaning, purpose is the same direction. But that's what's going on. And they know, the leaders, they know, if I don't create purpose for my people, I will never get them really. They will just have jobs. They have a contract, they have jobs. And then they get 17 or 20% of them. And the artists, you have more than 100. 100 is not enough, 100%, because if you're a soloist, so you really are part of that. You mentioned orchestra before. In the orchestra, symphony orchestra is a very good example of how organization should function, because your orchestra is composed of individuals who really have to be very, very good. Otherwise, they cannot play well together, which means the same like in a company. You have the very good specialists, who know, on the other hand, how to create teams and work together. So that's quite similar, except there is a difference comes when you say, about the purpose. What are musicians doing? Well, they are playing a masterpiece. And in that moment, they go immediately to another level, because now they are on the level of masterpiece, of the great symphony and so on. And that's why their capability has then another additional power, because they now suddenly work together so well, and nothing personal plays any role. Look at the organization, so much politics, so much personal stuff that all the time makes problems.
Ego proving competition, hierarchy, all of this.
Yeah. Why? Because the organization doesn't have a masterpiece to play. I'm asking myself, what is your masterpiece? If you are a company, what is your masterpiece? What do you play? And then people start asking the right questions. I'm serving. So, okay, what do you serve? And then suddenly you see you have to actually create meaning out of what you do, or you cancel, you go away, go to another company, because don't do something you hate to do. It will make you sick and you will not be able to contribute really, because you cannot connect. So this is a problem. Of course, there are jobs that are not a masterpiece, I understand, but okay, that's also destiny, where you end in life and you have to see, but you have to be awake.
Exactly. And also for those jobs, I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I always, use this Vera cleaning lady that I had in my life, when I was starting coaching, and at that time, you're empowering people to find themselves, to discover this masterpiece, to click to their purpose. And this Vera cleaning lady was cleaning my place at that time, and I wanted to practice my coaching on her. And every time she would come, I would like, okay, do you really want to stay being cleaning lady? Would you, is there something else in your life? Would you like to learn something? You have so much potential. And then she would just brush me off and says, no, I'm happy. And then I kept on doing this as part of the practice. And one day she came and said, listen, I love cleaning. You don't understand. That's my purpose in life. I know you're training as a coach right now. I see your books. I love cleaning. And I said, you do? She said, yeah, that's my purpose. That's my mission. I love it because I'm free. I love it because I'm dancing and playing music while I'm doing it. I love cleaning the space for other people. I'm a space cleaner. I love when people come back from their work life, and they come into the house or office and everything is like in its orderly place. And they're so grateful. That's my purpose, right? So as we said, when something is linked to the purpose and meaning, no matter what job is, it's always connected, right? On a certain level. So it's really good for people to know that even the kind of most tedious jobs are important and valid, right?
You see, good that you insisted. This is the point. You insisted because you knew there must be something else. But people do not give their innermost secrets with the first go. So insisting in cycle and coming back. That is why I'm saying I see in the future companies with at the top, if you want, of the leadership, not only one place, which is now the boardroom, but there will be another place called inspiration room, a place where in a cyclic way there will be constantly insistence of getting all the participants of the company to their innermost purpose. You cannot do that in a boardroom because there it's too much, it's too restrictive. It's numbers, it's pressures, but then you need another place which is human, which attunes to the whole human nature. And people think, oh, well, we don't have time for that. We don't have money for that. Well, that is completely wrong reasoning, because look at the human being. We all have both sides in us. We all do. It's just, we are only concentrated on the left side. And that's why we have that kind of results and that kind of problems that are coming from everywhere. So how can we make a organization complete? So really human, look like a human, I call it anthropomorphic kind of approach to an organization, and that's happening already. They may have other names. They say incubator, or they say this or that. But the name doesn't matter. Important is that you have to place where you can let fantasy fly, where you can experiment, where you can prototype new ideas and so on. And there is budget. That's the problem. Artists, they say, oh, very nice arts, but we don't have money for that. Well, it means you don't invest in the right place in order to get the bottom line flying. It doesn't happen overnight. So anyway, so these are kind of things I see coming in the future, that we will need to unleash all these potentials of people we have in organizations, and then let it go, let it happen, not all the time try to control that.
Yeah. So Let's bottom line it for people who are listening to this and saying, my God, this is so inspirational. I would love to work with Miha. We would love to bring him to organizations. We would love to test and play with the method and learn and evolve and become more engaged. What would you say to these people? What is something that you can really give to them to add value, to awaken them into that creativity? And what will be the process, just for people to understand how they can maybe engage with you directly?
First, I would ask you, will you be coming with me so we do it together?
Absolutely. Yeah.
After this conversation, I have so much fun. I would see it's so much.
I would definitely come to you all the way to the Mars and backwards, maybe to Jupiter and Saturn, but let's stay on the world. Absolutely.
Dynamic equilibrium. Yeah. Well, I would say to people this. Very often, those who have now the sense, this could be for us, they will say, yeah, but we are not ready. They would say to me, this is great what you do, wonderful, but we are not ready yet. So we will contact you when we are ready. And I tell them, you will never be ready. For what I do, you'll be never ready. If you have problems now, that is the moment to do it, not to wait until you are sort of imaginarily finished and so on. Then it's too late. The point is, what I do with my clients is that when there is real need, when you have really problems, that is the moment to sort of take in something quite different. And then I do with all the participants who would be part of that kind of event, with them, I make sure that they come to their own new solutions, not me coming from outside and saying something, do this or that. I'm really proud of the fact that many times it went the right way. Namely, I take them into my world, which is archetypal, which means it has a resonance with what they do, but I do this on a purpose so they are away from their own situation for a half a day or so, or 1 day, or a few hours if necessary. And they look at themselves from this place, from the place of the artistic, creative place. And then they come back into their own situation. Suddenly, look at that, they find solutions. Maybe not the same day, but the process is such that empowers people to suddenly really find their own solutions. And that's what I like to do always. I do not believe I can directly change because I'm a violinist at the end. No, I'm learning on job a lot, but I'm a concert violinist. So why should I go and tell company, do this or that? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Why should you do that? And that inspiration is absolutely remarkably important right now. Awakening the corporate soul, healing the corporate soul, initiating the corporate soul, stepping into the next level of leadership that requires creativity to be present all the time. It requires us.
Making possible for people to take a next step, to have courage, to igniting courage, because very often there are so many but and if and there are so many. Yeah. So many obstacles there.
Yeah.
And I tell them, especially when you have dilemmas, if you decide this way or that way, you are playing with millions, or billions, who knows. So this is really a problem to how to solve dilemmas. And I have learned for a long time, I have learned the fact that dilemma solution is very much connected with enduring dilemmas at first, not to go into solution immediately. It's a trap. If you immediately go in solutions, then you cut off the whole world of possibilities because you go one or the other way. So it's how do we endure it long enough until we grow while we are enduring, and it hurts, it's difficult, and we can't sleep and all kinds of things, but we still hold both sides until the moment when we grow enough and suddenly we can find a solution or a synergy or whatever. That is something impossible when you too quickly decide one or the other way. So these kind of things, but I do that not by talking about, I show that in the music, I show it, I find a masterpiece that fits that challenge and that problem and shows the solution. And in that way, nobody's unfree to find their own solution. It's simple, but it's also difficult because you have to have a lot of experience.
So Miha, we're coming close to the wrap up of this wonderful recording. We've heard 5 minutes. Where would you like to leave audience with? Would you like to play another masterpiece? Would you like to share something? What will be your kind of wrap up for our listeners?
I would like to talk about one element which is very important for organizational development and personal development. When the words are taken too much spoken about, and they lose the magic. But we all talk about transformation, for instance. Transformation, this transformation, digital transformation, all kind of transformation. And I would like to get across one of my deep convictions that come out of experience. There is no transformation possible if you do not first master the inner world. Now, inwardness, so the inner gentle power. What we can say now, the feminine power that is coming everywhere as the real support of leadership. That has nothing to do with women or men. We all have it. You and me, we all have female and male power. But we have to decide for one or the other to really bring one thing outside to the surface. So music, a great music, classical music, always has to do with the fact, like, you start outside and then you gradually go inside. Then you go out again and then you again inside. So you sort of oscillate between in and out, which is like breath, of course, breath, which is like heartbeat. It's this rhythmical going out, going in. And when you reach this very intense inner place, that is the place where transformation can happen. Transformation cannot happen outside, but just by ordering certain numbers and certain strategies, like do this, do that. People do it, but there is just rearrangement. It's not transformation. Transformation is an inner factor. So, and I would like to play one piece without now doing much painting, or since you have audience, many can only hear it and not see it. But look, it is a gentle piece. It is like a stylized dance from the Baroque time, a lure, but it starts like this. Yeah, can you hear? It is like upbeat. Now starts. Yeah, so, and what is the start? The start is the same note repeating itself on the higher level, which is called octave in the music. It's the same note, but there is a space in between. That is called an element. It's called octave. It's interval of octave. I call this, that is easy for everybody to understand if you don't know music. I call it relation between ego and I. So lower everyday self and the highest self, like ideal self, where we strive. Now, this now goes out and in. It's about 3 minutes, and I'm going to just play it through and let you explore as you're listening to see how it goes out, intensity, and then goes in and becomes very inner, and again out, and so on, until at the end it's very inner. And that's where, if you are really sensitive, some people then cry. I don't expect that today, but I just want to say it becomes very inner. And this is a place where transformation can take place. Let's go.
Bravo.
It's
Bravo,
very
bravo.
gentle, but you can hear it goes in stages. And human life unfolds in stages. It's very significant. First 7 years, from 7 to 14. First 7 you are, you're only born really. 14, then you are a teenager, and then 40 to 21. 21, you wake up to your personality, really, your I, your individual. And then, at 40, 35, a crisis, 49, the second crisis, it all goes in stages. And then life starts with 60 or 70 before it's all preparation only. So, and then that's important to know. When you're young, you try to do something and nothing happens, doesn't work. And you try the same thing when you're 60, suddenly everything goes because you are full of experience. And people feel like this is not, he read it in a book. He was, it is actually suffered through it in life, in learning and doing it again and again until you are master. So you see, these kind of things, the stages in life and stages in music and stages in organizational development, they are the same. If you know how to approach them, how to hear them, how to discover them, and how to master them. And that is why music is so helpful. Listen, Zoran, it was wonderful talking to you.
It was wonderful talking to you. It was wonderful being with you. I thank you so much for this amazing journey into sensitivity and senses and art and music. It was so inspirational for me. I'm grateful for today, and I'm sure that our audience is going to be inspired and really touched by your wonderful presentation, this great recording. Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us today. And for the listeners, thank you so much for tuning into our channel. More information about Miha is going to be in the description of this podcast and also on YouTube channel. You can get him directly in touch with him or via TNM Coaching. Thank you so much for being here today, for listening to us. Once again, Miha, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you.